welcome to another episode of that Worship Guitar Show, brought to you by worshipguitarskills.com with me, Shah Katsia, and the WGS team. You'll discover how to go from a frustrated to fluent worship guitarist without having to practice for hours on end or even spend thousands of dollars on new gear. We'll help you unleash your true potential so you can make the most of the gifts and talents you've been entrusted with, and finally grow into the amazing worship guitar player you've been destined to become. Welcome, and let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of that Worship Guitar Show. And today is very exciting because we're going to be talking about one of my favorite things to talk about, which is really composing guitar parts for worship. And I think one of the reasons that's important is, you see, a lot of times when you play songs or preparing for a Sunday, it could be one of two things. The song that you're going to be learning or playing on a Sunday, it's got some very specific guitar parts. So if you think of Lion and the Lamb, it's got that introduction lick and riff that we all know. But once that's done, there are still other parts that the guitarist played, right? But it's not always going to be useful for you to try and mimic all of that, because either there were no guitar parts, right? Or there were too many guitar parts. So what do you actually choose? So that is the topic of today's lesson, really showing you guys how to compose parts so that whatever song you're playing, that you have options at your disposal when it comes to choosing what you're going to play. And I think that's a lot more important. Think of this: if you were to go and pray, and if the only things that you could say to God was a bunch of predefined phrases, right? Of course, there are things like the Lord's Prayer in the Bible, which is there's a guide for us to pray. But of course, we can also use our own ability to communicate and speak and to pray and just say what's on our hearts, like, King David did in the Psalms and all those kind of things. So that ability just to be free and to communicate in the way that you want is very powerful. And in the same way that we wouldn't want to, pray with a bunch of predefined phrases and sentences, you don't want to have the same thing happen with your guitar playing. So if that kind of resonates with you, and if you're excited to dive into the composing parts today, let me know in the comment section, and tell me whether you can hear my voice all right, you can hear my guitar. Then we're going to get into really showing you kind of a methodical way that you have to think about when it comes to composing. So I'm going to tune up here. We've got the aircon blasting here, which might affect the tuning a little bit. But let me know if you can see and hear me, where you're tuning in from, and then we'll get right into the meat and potatoes of today's lesson. So Antti from Finland saying okay with thumbs up. Awesome. Happy to hear that. So that means we are good to go with our audio. Like I said, sometimes we do all of the tests and then we go live, and then there's some kind of a tech gremlin, doing some stuff behind the scenes. So it's good to see that that's all working. Hey Darren, it's great to see you. It's fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm happy to see that you can hear everything here. Darren is tuning in from North Carolina in the US. So awesome to see you. And Jason Summers says all good. All right, guys, fantastic. Thank you so much for that feedback. What I'm going to do today is we're probably going to get you close to 10 different options that you can have when you play over a simple chord progression. So we've got a progression here. I believe it is 5-2-4-1 in the key of E. I'll show you exactly what those chords are. And I'm going to show you kind of a couple of things that you can do as it relates to choosing what you want to do. Now, there's this concept known as constraints, theory of constraints. And what that basically means is, another saying to kind of explain that is constraints breed creativity. So having those constraints handy is really cool when it comes to practicing and everything, because when you look at the guitar neck, right, there's literally limitless options that you have at your disposal to come and compose parts and do all the kind of good stuff. But that can sometimes be a little bit arresting and overwhelming. So that's when you kind of break things down into the theory of constraints. It can really help you to kind of see different ways of the neck because you are looking for one particular thing, right? Did you ever buy a specific car and then wherever you drive, you start noticing that car everywhere? It doesn't mean that now all of a sudden there's more of those cars. It just means your reticular activating system in your brain is noticing these things because you've started to pay attention to your own car, whether it's a color, a brand, a make, model, whatever the case may be. So this is kind of what the constraints will do for us. So let's go ahead and just show you what I'm talking about. It's going to be kind of a methodical approach, which I find is useful because it makes things accessible. I remember when I studied music in the UK, we'd have people that would come and do master classes, right? And you'd see world-class guitar players that will come in and do a master class. And, they've forgotten so many things that, most of us would still have to learn. And then you'd either leave that masterclass super excited, but with no actionable next steps, or you'll leave it depressed because the guys were just so good, right? But they were so far ahead, and it was very hard for them to, in a simple way, articulate what they were doing, because it's just they spent a lifetime learning a specific style or whatever the case would be. So I find in these kind of teaching moments, it's better to kind of look at a couple of different approaches that you have at your disposal when it comes to being more methodical about your playing. So let me show you, I've prepared something on iPad. We'll go to the full view of the iPad, and then I'll show you how this is all gonna kind of pan out. So this looks like a bit weird, but you see how we're gonna go is, if we say our first option that we're gonna look at today, our first example, we are only gonna use one note, and the strings that we're going to be using, it'll be the B string. So if you can only use one note on the B string, what will that sound like? Right, so let's go ahead and we're going to trigger the track, which I said is B, F sharp minor, A, and E. So now immediately you can't rely on chords. You're going to have to focus on where to find those. So let's go to the iPad with the guitar. Then you can see my guitar neck. So before we start playing, I'll quickly show you. If we're going to be playing the B as a chord, I might just play B like that. And then if we go to F sharp minor, I might go there, just one note. And then to the A, I might just go to that one note. And then for E, I might go there. So I'm only allowed to choose one note on the B string. I'm not going to play any chords, it's only going to be one note. All right, so let's go ahead, we're going to trigger the track, and I'm just going to mess around and show you guys what you can do by your constraint is one note on the B string. Let's go for it. Okay, so let's listen to our track. There's the F sharp minor, the A, and then the E. So now I can do one note only on the B string. The G strings, my apologies, the G string. Alright, we'll stop there. But as you can see, going back to our full iPad, I could only use one note at a time, right? And I could only play them on the G string. I wrote B, but it should have been G. So let's go ahead and just update that. So my string that I played that on was the G string. So as you can see, all of that stuff you heard now was one note, and I could only play them on the G string. Now let's just say if we go to our second example, now we want to play two notes. Okay, we're going to play two notes at the same time, and the strings we're going to play them on will be the A string as well as the D string. So now let's cut to the guitar there. We can see that I can use 2 notes at a time. For the B, for the F sharp minor, for the A, for the E, for the B, whatever the case may be, I can only use 2 notes on the A string and the D string. There's my A string, there's my D string. So let's play that same track again. And now let's see what can I do with the new constraint that is the A string and the D string. But before we do that, let's just quickly do one more thing. If we just go back to the full iPad there, please, Kenan. So let's see what's going to be the best way to show that to us. All right. So option 1, and I'll have to see if we can make these colors work, right? But in fact, we don't even have to make the colors work. We'll just draw them based on the number. So our first example, we could only play 1 note on the G string. As you can see there, 1 note on the G string. Our second example, we can play 2 notes. So they can either be on the A string or, in this case, the D string. Now this does not relate to frets, so don't confuse with that. This just shows you our first constraint. I only had 1 note and I can play it on the G string. Our second constraint, it's 2 notes for our second example that we can play on the A and the D string, and there you go. So now you can see how I break my neck up is I can go from option 1 note on the G string, to option 2 notes on the A and the D string. And when we start this track, I'm going to start with option 1. We'll cut to the guitar. I'll start with option 1 and I'll tell you when I'm going to go to option 2. And you'll actually clearly see that happening. So let's go ahead and fire away with the backing track. So I'm on option 1 now, 1 note only. Option 2, 2 notes. A and D string only. We'll stop there. A bit of a mistake there because I'm only thinking in 2 strings at a time. But as you can see, option 1, we had 1 string, 1 note, which was the G string. Option 2, 2 notes on the A and the D string. So now let's see what our next option can be, which will be, let's write it in here so we can see now we are going up to option number 3. So these are our examples, right? So we're looking at our third example now. This time we're still going to use 2 notes, but we're going to play them on the A string as well as the G string. So clearly that is an octave. Okay, and if I draw this out over here, we're going to go number 3. Okay, that should not be white. We should make that black. Number 3 is 2 notes. So let's just look at it again. We're looking at number 3, our example 3, which will be 2 notes. There they are. I mean, they are being played on either the A string and the G string together. So that is clearly an octave. So now let's go to the guitar. Here we have option 3 where I can play, and let me just do that 3 a little bit better. Looks like doctor's handwriting. So not much better, but there you go. That's an octave. I'm playing string 5, which is the A string, and string 3, which is a G string. And those are octaves. So now, instead of playing just one note, or instead of playing just two notes, I'm playing two notes on the A and the G string. Okay, so let's go ahead and again I'll start nice and simple with one note, playing example 1. So as you see, when I say 1, it's only one note played in the G string. Example 2, it's two notes played on the A and the D string. And example 3, it's two notes played on the A and the G string. Let's go for it again, right from the top. Example 1. Example 2. Just the A and a D string. We'll carry on with that. Example 2, and I'll show you the octaves shortly. Example 3. Alright, we'll stop there. So as you can see, we had 3 different approaches. We had single notes on the G string. We had 2 notes as power chords on the A and the D string. And then our third option was still 2 notes as octaves on the A and the G string. And as you can hear, it actually kind of gives me some interesting sounds as I kind of traverse through these different options. So now, let's go back to the full iPad again. Now we're going to do a fourth example. Our fourth example will still consist of 2 notes only, but this time they're going to be played on the D and the B strings. And for those of you who are avid WGS subscribers, you'll know that those are the 4/2 voicings. In fact, let me go ahead and add this on the fretboard so you can see where number 4 is going to fit in. Number 4 will fit in on that. So as you can see, maybe I should just add those in a little bit, and you can see those are like different chord shapes. So now I've got 4 approaches already. So let's add the guitar, I'll show you. If I only play approach 1, one note only on the G string. Then option 2, 2 notes on the A and the D string. Option 3, the octaves. Option 4, 2 notes on the D and B strings. Etc, etc. So now you can see we have 4 options together there, and they really build nicely, and we can see how we divide the guitar up. Now, like I said in the beginning, this is a bit of a methodical approach. But that methodical approach is literally the key to kind of unlock the fretboard, because we're putting all options aside. When we play option 1, we can only use one note on the G string. Option 2, we can only use 2 notes on the A and the D string. Option 3, 2 notes as octaves on the A and the G string. And then option 4, 2 notes as 2 voicings on the D and B strings. So I'm going to play that again. I'll start changing up my variations a little bit quicker, but still I'll call out when we are moving from option 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's go ahead and check it out with the track again. Here we go. Still option 1. I'm going to go to option 2. Octaves, option 3. For 2 voicings, option 4. A little bit more movement, maybe. All right, so the ideas are kind of endless. But that was the first 4 approaches. So let's see, what else have we got? We can go now and add in tenths, the option of a tenth. And check this out. This is going to be example number 5. And I'm going to still use 2 notes only. But now my strings are going to be different. We're going to have the E string. Okay, my writing, let's just get that proper there. The E string as well as the G string. So what does that mean? Well, now that clearly means it's just 2 notes. In fact, so let's just go and draw this in for you, what that's going to look like when I have the 2 notes. For option 5, it's going to be the E string and the G string. That's my 5th option. So now check this out. If I play the progression with just 1 note, it'll be... Or I play the option 2, strings A and D. Option 3. And now option 5, which will be tenths. Alright, so as you can see, every time I move across the notes, they're just kind of, placed in different parts of the neck. So let's go ahead and do it one more time. But I'm going to start off with the tenths and I'll mix it up a little bit. So we're going to start with option number 5. Here we go. Option 2. Option 3. Option 4. See all the variety, right? One more, option 4. Option 5. Alright, I'll stop there. Maybe that wasn't the best choice for option 5 because I was doing kind of a strummy thing and kind of getting your muting just right can be a bit tricky for that. But now can you see we have 5 options here, and as we've cycled through them, the first one had 1 note, options 2, 3, 4 and 5 all had 2 notes, but as we go back to the iPad here, you can just see over here, option 1 was purely just a whole time on the G string. Okay, option 2 was just on the A, and wherever you play, all of them was only using the A and the D strings. Option 3, this is where we have the octaves, right? So we play anywhere on the neck, but it's going to be string A and G. And then option 4, same thing, we skip a string, but these are now the 4 2 voicings, giving us some really cool sounds on either the D and the B strings. And then option 5, like I showed you, tenths, which will be the E and G strings. Now, of course, you can also play a tenth on other strings, so you don't necessarily have to do your tenth over there. You can also do it there. So these things translate to other string groups as well. In the same way that the 4 2 voicings, you can play those same voicings other places. But I don't want to introduce too much complexity. I want to try and keep it simple for us as we go. So now, let's see. We want to now go to, let's say we're kind of bored with the 2 notes. We want to add another note, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to jump over here. Now we're going to go to example number 6. I'll have to take a penmanship class. There's option 6, right? Which will have 3 notes. And now my strings that I'm going to be using will be strings 5, which is the A, the D, and the G strings. So now, as you can see, I've got 3 notes in there. So let's go ahead and note what this looks like on our fretboard. Again, this has got nothing to do with how high these things are or how low they are. It's literally just to show you the string grouping. There's strings option 6, which is strings, what do you call that? A, D, and G. Option 5 is just the E and G strings. Option 4 is just the D and B strings. Option 3 is the A and G strings. Option 2 is the A and D string. And option 1 is just the G string. All right, so now let's look at the chords that I can play. For the B, I can do a 3-note power chord. Remember when we did option 2, I just had 2 notes in that power chord. But for option 6, I can have 3 notes. So now I'm playing 3 notes, A, D, and G. So this will be B. Then I can have an inverted power chord, which I believe we covered that in the last episode. F sharp 5. Now for this A, I can take it up as an inverted power chord as well, or down there. and then the E as the inverted power chord, or there. So now let's play that again with a track, and I'll bounce between sections. And this option number 6 is the one that I'll use when we kind of want to get some real driving, meaty sounding chords, which is why, you know, in that case we're using 3 notes. So let's go ahead and trigger the track and see what we can come up with. Option 1. Option 3. Option 6. Nice fat power chords, right? And we'll stop there for now. So now you can see how that kind of changed the game when we added in 3 notes played on those strings. Now, of course, like I said, you can move those 3 notes here too. The E will be there, right? So you can move things to other strings, but in that case, it was 3 notes played on the A, D, and G strings. So next up, let's go with another 3 notes, but in this time, I just wanted to show you sometimes it's useful to think of a variation of that, of example 6 can do kind of like this. So instead of starting it here on the A string, we can actually start it on the D string as well. Now in this case, I think it's useful for us to show another variation, even though both of these are option 6. Because sometimes those low power chords can just get a little bit too muddy in a worship setting rather. Sometimes they'll work totally fine, other times not so much, so it kind of depends. So I could play, instead of playing the B over here, I can play it there. And then for the F sharp minor, for the A, and for the E. So you can just see how you can do that as well. So what I'm going to do is we'll play the track, but just the one that starts where the whole band is kind of driving, and then I'll show you by kind of starting low and then going high with my option 6, which is where I have 3 notes across 3 different strings. Starting on A, D, G, which will be there, and then moving up to D, G, B, which will be there. And you can just clearly hear the difference, but still my combination is 3 notes for example number 6. So let's play that from where the band is all in. All right, so here's the power chords going to come in. A 1, 2. But let's say I want to go higher. All right, so it's still example 6, but I showed you how I can play that on a different string grouping. Now let's see, what else can we do? Let's just say, let's try another variation on, well, first of all, let's do 4 notes. I guess we want to get to 4 notes, you know. And again, like I said, I'm fully aware that this is a fairly methodical way of looking at all of this, but it just helps your brain to be able to categorize things in a different way. So this time we're going to use 4 different notes, and our strings will be the A string, the D string, the G string, and the B string. So let me quickly show you what I can do there. I might even choose a different tone, and let's throw in a bit of tremolo here. So now, let me show you where this is going to be found on the fretboard, right? So we're going to have example 7, which is literally 4 notes on the A, D, G, and B strings. All right, so how can I play B there? Well, the simplest one is this. Like a B, almost like a bar chord with an A shape. F sharp minor. Well, in fact, I'm going to change it up things a little bit. I'm going to play a B sus2, but it's still the same 4 strings. Then for the F sharp minor, still only playing strings A, D, G, and B. Then for A, I have a C sharp. And then for the E. And I might want to kind of mix things up by adding some more picks in there. Okay, so we'll play this with the normal track from the beginning, and I'll just show you how I can use option 7. I'm just going to start with it so we don't have to cycle through too many options. We'll just start with option 7. Here we go. Alright, we'll stop there. So I started with option 7, which was played on strings A, D, G, and B, and then I went to option 3, which were my octaves. Alright, so let me know. We'll cover a few more. Let's look at the time here. Always a time warp when we do these things. You think it's 5 minutes and then an hour has gone by, which is a good sign, hopefully. But let me know in the comments if it's kind of useful to see how you can break these strings up, or not the strings, but you have different voicings, different amount of notes played across different strings. That can really just kind of ramp things up for you. And then what we'll do is we'll throw in a few more as we end off today's lesson. So we can definitely do like open triads, and then we can also do just some embellished triads, which will take us, that'll be 8 to 9, and then we can do some 2-note variations as well to kind of get it up on, wrapping up all of the different string groupings so that you actually have 10 different options. So while I'm going to go ahead and just write in the 10 different options, let me know if you have any questions around any of this. We'll go to the full iPad there, and let me get my white color. So option number 8, what are we going to do? Let's do 3 notes again. And this time let's do A, D, and B. So these are going to be open triads. I'm going to show you how to play those. And if I wanted to show you how to play option 8, it'll be 8, 8, and then we'll skip a string 8. So that's option 8 right there. Then let's go to option number 9. There's option 9. In this instance, we're going to have 2 notes, and let's have them on the B and E strings. And then let's do option 10. Let's do 2 notes on the G and B strings. All right, so option 9, if you wanted to see what that's going to look like, it's obviously just 2 notes up on the B and E strings. And then option 10 is going to be 2 notes, but it's going to be on the G and B strings. So there's literally 10 different approaches, 1 note only. And for the 1 note only, you can choose whether you want to change that to any of the other strings. Typically strings 1, 2, and 3 will work best for 1 note only, but you can also do 1 note only on the lower strings. Then we add that power chord. In fact, let's cut to the guitar and I'll show you how I can play the same progression with all these different voicings. And if you have any questions around voicings or practicing or just anything related to worship guitar, go ahead and throw them in the comment section, and then we'll be able to address some of those. And if there's no questions, we can also wrap a couple of minutes early today. So I'm going to just go ahead and show you all of these different options one more time. When you use one note, you can play like I showed you. You can do this. Or you can add additional notes. So I'm still sticking with my one note only. And then the same thing that I'm playing here, I can play it on another string. I can do that same thing. The note starting as D sharp, so I can go. And maybe I can demo that for you with the track. We'll do that in a second once we've gone through all the versions here. But that just shows you when you have one note only, you can do it just on one string. Or you can choose to play one note only, but instead of having just the G string, you can make it the G and the B string. So for example, instead of playing, that's all on one string. I love playing on one string. It kind of gets you thinking outside the box. But you can totally play the same thing like this. You see, you can, that same is the same as this. So you can choose where you want to do your one note at a time. The two notes, B, F sharp, 5, A over C sharp, A5, B over E, E, B over D sharp, F sharp 5, A over E, and E. Two notes only. Octaves, B, C sharp over the F sharp, E over the A, B over the E, B over the B, F sharp over the F sharp, E over the A, E over the E, G sharp, F sharp over the B, etc. If you just know your chord tones, which is one of the things we cover extensively at the Academy, you can take these octaves and move your way all the way around. Option 4, I mean, these are 4 twos. All right, we all know the 4 twos. Option 5, the 10ths. Maybe higher. That's still option 5, where it's just 2 notes only, and I'll just move the strings. Option 6, 3-note power chords. F sharp over C sharp, A over E, E5, E5 over B. Same thing here. Let's just see that again. That didn't sound right. Yes, there we go. B, F sharp over C sharp, A5, E5, maybe to an E, triad. When we didn't do those triads, but you could totally have done those. For example, B, F sharp minor, A, E, anyway, triads, we've shown you that now, and then 4 notes. All right, 4 notes. The 3 notes, we didn't do those before for option number 8, but that'll be A string, D string, B string. So these are open triads. And even if I were to throw on a orchestral sounding ambient tone, all right, that was option 8 with open triads. I cheated a little bit, which was to not exclusively use A, D, and B. When I did, for example, going to that inversion of the triad, but it's still just the 3 notes. So it's still an open triad, I just organized the notes differently. Once you know the rule, they are there to be broken, right? Or at least embellished upon. So that is the number 8. Number 9 is 2 notes only, so I can play B, F sharp, A, E, B, F sharp, A, E. All right, excuse the tuning there. We'll blame the aircon. So that is 2 notes on strings 1 and 2, which is option 9. And then we're going to do option 10, which will be G and B strings. So sorry, that was the wrong note. It sounded cool, but B, final chord E, my bad. All right, so there we go, but that was option number 10. So a lot of options that you can derive from just playing a simple progression. So now can you see that when you play on a Sunday, you don't have to play the exact part, unless of course it's like a riff or a hook that you definitely want to use to or that, you know, if it's Lion in the Lamb, people are going to expect. But for the rest of the song, you know, you can choose octaves, power chords, 4/2 voicings. The four note voicings are open triads, the 2-note dyads, the 2-note power chords, 2-note octaves. There's such a variety, and we just go back to our diagram here real quick. As you can see, we've shown you 1 to 5, 6 to 10 different examples with a variety ranging from 1 note at a time to 2 notes at a time, or 3 notes at a time, or 4 notes. So, and then we've kind of spread those notes across different strings, as you can see there. And that literally kind of gave us 10 examples. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a bit of a risk here. I'll play the full track again, and I'm going to use all these different things, and I'll try and call out the versions that I'm on, and then you can just kind of see the variety that you can get. Of course, you wouldn't do 10 different variations when you play on a Sunday. It's too much. But it's nice to have options, because then you can choose whichever version suits the song the best. While I'm playing, if there's any questions, put them in the comment section, and then after we're done, we'll wrap it up with some next steps for you and take it from there. So let's go ahead and cue the full track from the beginning. In fact, let me just tune one last time, because some of these notes, if your string is a bit out with the fluctuating temperature here, it's not going to sound nice. All right, cool. Here we go. All right, option 2, 2 notes. Option 3. So option 3, right? Option 4, 4 twos. Power chords. Keep going higher with the power chords. Option 6. Option 7. Option 8. Option 9. All right, we're kind of running out of track here, but if I were to do option 10, right, I think I did everything in that example except for the tenths, because they just didn't quite feel like they were going to fit where I was at that particular point in time. So when you are composing parts, I want to invite you to go ahead and check out this theory of constraints, where you say, okay, cool, I'm only going to play 1-note voicings, 2-note voicings, 3-note voicings, or 4-note voicings, and then pick kind of a string group. And it's really going to kind of help you think around like how you, distribute your voicings across the neck. So super useful when you have these options at your disposal. So what we're going to do If you want to learn more about like where do these voicings come from, how can you play them, what was the rhythms used, the tones used, all that kind of stuff, we covered that in a brand new training that we released called The Ultimate Guide to Composing Worship Guitar Parts. And we're going to put this section that I've just done with detailed teaching as a follow-up within that same section. So if you've already invested in that training, we'll put a link in the description that you can read all about what that is, to see how it works with the sound slice powered videos and the PDF downloads and the backing tracks, the tones, the techniques, and the theory behind all of these different elements. You can go ahead and check out that link in the description, and we'll put it there as soon as we end the stream. And then, like I said, everything that I've just played today, that will also go into that. So people that have already invested in that will also be able to get this next section. Give us about 2 weeks or so just to get all the parts recorded and transcribed and filmed and uploaded, but that is going to be there as well. But if you've not yet picked it up, we've already got that training available. You can go ahead and check out the link in the description and see what's all covered in there. That'll give you access to our Worship Guitar Skills Academy and a little bit more detail, because there's just only so many things we can cover in our sessions here, and to kind of get into the more nitty-gritty and intricate things, you need to kind of develop that into your own practice schedule and sessions over time. So Charlie Gomez saying hi. Robert Vickers was tuning in from Alabama, USA. Great to see all of you guys on here today. I think we're kind of at the top of the hour. Let's have a look. Yep, we're pretty much 2 minutes from there. So if anyone has a burning question, put it in the comment section. Sometimes we miss those just because there's a bit of a delay before we end the stream. We'll go ahead and reply to that in the comment section if we've missed that. But if you had fun today, if you enjoyed the session, please let us know in the comment section. We'd always love to get feedback from our members and to see if this is the kind of content that really kind of resonates and lands with them, to help them improve their worship guitar skills so that they can be better equipped and empowered to really lead powerful sessions of worship, to really take the congregation to that sweet space and place of spending time in the presence of God. Because we know that amazing things happen when you enter that space. Mountains melt like wax. It's times of refreshing. We hear His voice and we really find out a lot of the amazing things that God has already spoken over us, and we also get to express our love and admiration to God through ministering to the Lord in those times. And what an honor and a privilege as guitar players to use our gift of playing guitar and our passion of enjoying to play guitar and using that to lead others in worship. So I hope it's been helpful. We'll go ahead and read the replays or the comments on all the replays as well. So if you're watching the replay, engage with us in the comment section. It's always great to hear back from our members. And if you have any questions that you'd love for us to address on future episodes, you can just go to worshipguitarskills.com/feedback. There's a form that you can fill in the form, and you can go ahead and just give us some feedback in and around how the episode went for you. So that's the first one. And I believe we have another one, which is worshipguitarskills.com/questions. We'll go ahead and put all of those in the description as well. But that is your way to give us feedback and to ask us questions so that we can go ahead and adapt our lessons and our content for future episodes. And Darren Grimm saying awesome stuff. Thanks again. Thanks for tuning in, Darren. Great to see you. And I believe you guys are heading into springtime where you're at. So hopefully, that's a lot of fun. Enjoy that. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Much love. And I'll see you on the next episode. Take it easy. And by the way, if you don't already have on our email list to kind of get notifications for when we go live, just go to thatworshipguitarshow.com. That'll take you to a form where you can give us your name and email. We'll let you know whenever we run new episodes like this. And you can also get access to all of the replays along with a couple of other goodies. So that is how you can stay in touch with us. And Charlie Gomez says, muchas gracias. Thank you very much, Charlie. Have a great day, guys. And we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.